Astronomers tracking 3I Atlas say it has altered its course, worrying scientists about its close proximity to Earth.
On the night of July 1st, 2025, a faint streak of light tore across the sky above Chile. Astronomers froze, their instruments locked on a target that didn't belong to the sun. It was moving too fast, on a path too strange, and in that instant, they knew they were staring at something from far beyond our solar system. This wasn't just another comet or asteroid drifting through space. It was the third interstellar visitor ever confirmed by science, a rare event that instantly drew the eyes of the world. The object was named 3I Atlas, and from the moment it appeared, it carried an air of mystery.
It's moving at a velocity of about 135,000 miles per hour, so it's going really fast.
Why was it here, racing at over 200,000 kilometers an hour? What secrets was it carrying from the cold reaches of another star system? And most of all, was it simply a wandering block of ice and rock, or could it be something far more deliberate? The question spread faster than the discovery itself, and soon the debate would erupt into headlines no one could ignore. The discovery of 3I Atlas was not just another entry in an astronomy logbook. It was confirmed as the third interstellar object humanity has ever witnessed, joining the ranks of ʻOumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. Each of those earlier visitors had shaken the scientific community in different ways. ʻOumuamua, long and mysterious, seemed to accelerate without explanation, sparking endless debate about whether it could be artificial. Borisov, on the other hand, looked almost exactly like a normal comet, behaving by the book. Then came Atlas, racing in on a hyperbolic orbit at more than 200,000 kilometers an hour, a speed so extreme that no gravity in our solar system could hold it. It was proof beyond any doubt that this traveler had come from somewhere else, carrying secrets from a distant world. What made it so unsettling was the paradox it presented. Atlas was familiar enough to resemble a comet, yet strange enough to defy easy classification. It wasn't as bizarre as ʻOumuamua, but it wasn't as ordinary as Borisov either. It hovered in a gray zone between the known and the unknown, a place where imagination feeds on uncertainty. And that was all it took for speculation to ignite. Within days, questions erupted far beyond scientific circles, pushing a quiet discovery into a storm of theories. When 3I Atlas first appeared, scientists everywhere scrambled to understand what it was. Most were cautious, noting the strange orbit and high speed, but one voice stood out above the rest. That voice belonged to Avi Loeb, the head of the Galileo project at Harvard, a man already known for daring to challenge convention. He warned that if Atlas failed to develop a tail, or if it shifted course mysteriously after passing behind the sun, then the world should prepare for an extraordinary possibility. It might not be natural at all. It might be a piece of technology, designed and launched by someone, somewhere, far beyond our skies. Those words were enough to send ripples of excitement and fear through the scientific community. They also carried weight because Loeb had been here before. Back in 2017, when ʻOumuamua shot through our solar system, he had famously argued that its strange acceleration and cigar-like shape could hint at an artificial origin. The debate had raged for years, filling books, conferences, and late-night television with talk of alien probes. Now, with Atlas, it seemed the story was beginning again. The press seized on his warning immediately. Headlines lit up across the globe, splashing phrases like alien spacecraft and evidence of advanced technology on the front pages. television anchors leaned into the drama, framing the discovery as a new chapter in humanity's oldest question. Are we alone? Online, the theories multiplied even faster, with social media feeding a frenzy that blended genuine curiosity with wild speculation. The fact that Atlas arrived less than a decade after ʻOumuamua only fueled the fire. Two strange interstellar visitors in such a short time felt like more than coincidence to many. People remembered the earlier debates, the whispers about scouts and surveillance devices sent by civilizations we could not yet imagine. And as those memories resurfaced, Atlas quickly became more than just an astronomical object. It became a canvas for every hidden fear and every buried hope about intelligent life beyond Earth. Some argued that if Loeb's suspicions proved true, we might be looking at the first direct evidence of extraterrestrial engineering. The sheer scale of that claim was staggering. For centuries, humanity has looked at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. Now, perhaps, a fragment of technology had crossed the void to find us. Even Loeb himself admitted that the simpler answer was that Atlas was just a comet. Yet he insisted that science should remain open to radical possibilities, because dismissing them outright meant closing the door on discovery. And that line of thought, more than anything, is what ignited the rumors. The possibility of alien intent, however remote, was enough to capture global attention. Once the idea was out, it refused to die. Every new image, every new calculation was dissected online as potential proof of something greater. The fascination was understandable. If Loeb was right, then Atlas wasn't just a rock or an icy fragment from a forgotten star system. It was a messenger. A crafted object designed to travel through space, carrying the technology of a civilization advanced enough to send it across the galaxy. That chilling thought lingered in the background of every discussion, and it raised a question no one could ignore. If 3I Atlas truly was artificial, then who had built it? And more importantly, why had they sent it here? The silence of space offered no answer, but the speculation had already begun to take on a life of its own. The rumors were loud, but NASA moved faster than the headlines. Within days, teams coordinated across ground observatories, the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope. They locked onto 3I Atlas and began collecting clean, repeatable data frame by frame. The mood shifted from online speculation to hard observation. Night after night, images stacked up and a pattern emerged that no one could ignore. As Atlas drew closer to the sun, a thin haze began to swell around it. That haze thickened into a glowing envelope, the classic coma that forms when ice starts to release gas. Soon after, a faint tail unspooled into space, pushed by sunlight like a banner in a steady wind. The signal was unmistakable, and it was captured again and again across independent instruments. Whatever Atlas was, it was now behaving exactly like a comet under heat. But pictures were only the beginning, and NASA knew it. So the teams turned to light itself, splitting it into fingerprints that tell you what an object is made of. They found water, the familiar breath of a melting comet. They also found carbon dioxide, and not just a trace amount. The ratio of CO2 to H2O leaned higher than what we usually see in local comets. It was odd, yes, but it was not alien. It suggested a birthplace colder and darker than the regions that formed most of our own. In other words, Atlas carried the climate of another star system inside its chemistry. Meanwhile, dust from the object scattered sunlight in a slightly unusual way. The reflection hinted at grain sizes and surfaces that didn't match the average in our neighborhood. Yet again, the effect fits within nature's playbook. Different nurseries make different snow, and different snow makes different dust. Across briefings, NASA scientists kept their message clear and consistent. The object looked like a comet, acted like a comet, and shed like a comet. Even better, its path through space was tracked with precision that left little room for fear. The calculated closest approach stayed far from Earth, well outside any danger. There would be no surprise swoop, no hidden turn toward our planet. What the data showed was motion governed by gravity and sunlight, not by engines. It was a relief to some and a disappointment to others. But it was the truth the instruments delivered, and it held. Hubble provided crisp views that charted the comet's growth over time. Webb added sensitivity and wavelengths that reveal faint gases and colder materials. Ground telescopes filled the timeline, catching every change as Atlas warmed. Piece by piece, the profile became impossible to argue with. A visitor from beyond the sun was acting by the oldest rules of ice and light. NASA did not ask anyone to take it on faith. They presented images, spectra, and tracking solutions that laboratories around the world could verify. In an age of noise, they answered with evidence. The story lost some drama, but it gained something better. It gained certainty about what we were seeing and what it meant. No secret thrust, no hidden course correction, no silent machine gliding under a false face. Instead, a comet doing comet things, only with a chemical accent from a distant birthplace. That conclusion did not kill the mystery. It sharpened it. Because if Atlas was natural, then its unusual mix of water, carbon dioxide, and dust became a message of a different kind. It spoke about where it formed and how far it had come. And it set the stage for the next question that truly matters. What can this ancient traveler tell us about the worlds that raised it and about our own place among them? Once the excitement over alien rumors began to fade, scientists turned their eyes to the details hiding in the spectrum. What they found was stranger than a flying saucer headline, because it pointed to a story billions of years old. Every comet carries a recipe inside its ice and dust. It is like a memory locked away, waiting for sunlight to melt the cover and let the ingredients spill into space. In the case of 3I Atlas, that recipe was unusual from the start. The gases rising from its surface showed an imbalance no one could ignore. Water vapor, normally dominant in comets from our solar system, was weak. Instead, carbon dioxide surged forward, carving the coma and shaping the tail with a chemistry rarely seen so strong. It was not a random quirk. This imbalance meant that Atlas had not formed in a place like our own outer planets, where water ice rules. It suggested a nursery much colder, far from the warmth of its parent star, where frozen carbon dioxide piled up while water stayed locked away or absent. That one detail instantly shifted the conversation. Atlas was not just a comet from another system, it was a comet from an environment our telescopes cannot easily see. And that meant studying it was like opening a window into a corner of the galaxy hidden from us until now. The implications were staggering. Dating models suggested it could be over 7 billion years old. If true, then this fragment was older than the Sun itself, older than the planets beneath our feet. It had drifted through the galaxy since before Earth was even an idea in the dust cloud that would one day form our solar system. To hold such an object in our gaze was like staring at a message bottled up in deep time. Its chemistry told us about conditions that existed when the Milky Way was younger, when stars were still arranging their families of worlds. Each molecule released from Atlas was not just gas in a vacuum. It was evidence of how planets might have formed in another era, under a different light. The story only deepened when astronomers compared it with the two visitors that came before. ʻOumuamua had been barren, refusing to show any gas at all. Borisov had looked typical, a twin of our local comets. Atlas stood apart, with a signature rich in carbon dioxide and poor in water. It was like a dialect in the language of comets, proof that nature writes its verses differently depending on where the stars are born. For the scientists watching, the data was not disappointing. It was thrilling, because it meant interstellar comets are not one story repeated again and again. They are chapters in a wider saga, and each carries a clue to how worlds form, thrive, or fail. Atlas in particular reminded us that our solar system's balance of water and heat is not universal. There are colder, darker nurseries out there, breeding comets that speak with another accent. And those comets may carry the building blocks of life in ratios unfamiliar to us. The thought added weight to every passing day of observation. This was no alien probe, no machine sent to spy. But it was something perhaps more profound, a preserved fragment from before Earth's birth. If we read its chemistry carefully, we could learn not only about another star's backyard, but also about our own beginnings. Because in the end, Atlas may be nothing more than ice and dust. Yet the story frozen within it is older than everything we know, and it has traveled across time to arrive here. Like a bottle drifting on an endless sea, it carries a message from an age when Earth did not exist. And as it passes by, it dares us to listen. To understand why 3I Atlas matters so much, you have to place it in the short but dramatic history of interstellar visitors. Back in 2017, the first outsider ever spotted shocked astronomers. It was called ʻOumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout, and the name fit. It rushed into the solar system with a long, thin shape that no one expected. Even stranger, it showed no coma, no glowing cloud, no tail. Yet after swinging around the sun, it accelerated slightly, as if something invisible pushed it forward. Gravity alone could not explain the movement. For years, the mystery burned, with scientists offering theories that ranged from hydrogen ice to alien craft. To this day, ʻOumuamua remains an unresolved puzzle, a reminder that the universe can surprise even the most careful eyes. 2 years later, in 2019, another traveler arrived. This one was Borisov, and it behaved so predictably that many called it a gift. It looked and acted just like the comets we grew up with, complete with a glowing coma and a sweeping tail. In every way that ʻOumuamua confounded, Borisov reassured. It proved that interstellar comets could look ordinary, a comforting anchor in the chaos. Then came 2025, and with it, Atlas. The third chapter in this unfolding story didn't sit neatly on either end of the spectrum. It was neither as inexplicable as ʻOumuamua, nor as familiar as Borisov. Instead, it landed in the uneasy space between them. Atlas carried a coma and a tail, signs of a comet melting in the sun's heat. Yet its chemistry told a different tale, one rich in carbon dioxide and poor in water, unlike most comets we know. Its dust scattered light in strange ways, making its reflection unique compared to our local visitors. In essence, Atlas was both recognizable and alien at the same time. That duality made scientists lean forward because it suggested that these visitors are not one story repeated. They are a series of messages, each with its own accent, each hinting at the diversity of star systems across the galaxy. When the three are set side by side, the pattern grows clear. ʻOumuamua whispered of the unknown, a body with no tail that bent the rules of motion. Borisov stood as the standard, the control, a comet that could have been born in our own backyard. Atlas spoke with a mixed voice, part familiar, part strange, carrying a chemistry that pointed to nurseries colder and darker than ours. Together they form a triangle of possibilities. One end shouts anomaly. And Atlas, poised in the middle, reminds us that the universe is not so simple as either extreme. It is this variety that shakes the ground beneath our feet. Because if interstellar visitors come in so many shapes and flavors, then what does that say about our own system? Is our balance of water, heat, and chemistry typical? Or are we the outlier, the odd experiment in a galaxy filled with other recipes? That is the twist hidden inside the data. Atlas may not carry alien machinery, but it does carry a question sharper than any rumor. It challenges us to ask whether the Earth, the Sun, and everything we take as normal might be just one version among countless others. And if we are not the rule but the exception, then every new visitor becomes more than a curiosity. It becomes a mirror, forcing us to look again at our place in the cosmos and wonder what normal really means. When the dust around 3I Atlas began to settle, the debate that followed was not really about gas ratios or orbital curves. It was about how we choose to see the universe. On one side stood Avi Loeb, a scientist unafraid of bold leaps. He had raised the possibility that Atlas, like ʻOumuamua before it, might be more than nature's work. His message was not proof, but provocation, a reminder that if we dismiss the extraordinary too quickly, we risk blinding ourselves to truths hiding in plain sight. On the other side was NASA, steady and methodical. Armed with images, spectra, and numbers, they grounded the story. They showed Atlas shedding gas and dust just as a comet should, and they made it clear that evidence mattered more than speculation. The clash was dramatic because it captured two sides of the same coin. Science advances when someone dares to ask what if, but it survives on the discipline of show me. The tension between imagination and proof has always been the heartbeat of discovery. Without daring ideas, no one would look beyond the obvious. Without data, no idea could stand. In the case of Atlas, the scales tipped toward the natural explanation, and the alien probe headline faded. But the conversation left behind something important. It left behind the sense that the next visitor might not be so easy to explain. And this time, we are better prepared. With the James Webb Space Telescope watching in infrared and the Vera Rubin Observatory soon to scan the night sky with unmatched depth, we will not be caught off guard again. These machines can track the faintest signals, catch the earliest hints of a coma, and follow objects before rumors can take root. They represent a new age of vigilance, where the galaxy cannot sneak a secret past us as easily as before. Yet preparation comes with a shadow. Because as much as telescopes can confirm the ordinary, they can also expose the unthinkable. Imagine the day when light curves and spectra fail to match any known template. Imagine when a visitor does not behave like a comet or an asteroid or anything we have cataloged. What then? The question is not fantasy. It is the natural outcome of opening our eyes wider than ever before. And it lingers because Atlas taught us a lesson. The universe has more recipes than we imagined. Most of them may be natural, but one day, one of them might not be. That possibility keeps both scientists and dreamers awake at night. It is the ultimate twist in the story of interstellar visitors. For now, Atlas reassures us with comet-like behavior, even if dressed in unusual chemistry. But the memory of ʻOumuamua's acceleration and the echo of Loeb's warning hang in the background. We know more visitors will come. We know our instruments will see them. And we know that one day, perhaps sooner than we expect, data may refuse to line up with any natural law we trust. When that moment arrives, the divide between science and imagination will close. It will not be about headlines or speculation anymore. It will be about facing the reality that something out there has reached across the void. And the question will no longer be, what if? It will be, what now? In the end, 3I Atlas was not an alien spacecraft gliding silently through our skies. It was a comet, natural and ancient, carrying a strange balance of carbon dioxide and water that spoke of a birthplace far colder than our own. Its chemistry became a message across time, reminding us that the universe has more ways to build worlds than we once believed. Sometimes the mysteries that spark rumors of extraterrestrials are not evidence of visitors, but lessons written in ice and dust, waiting for us to read them. Atlas proved that even when the answer is not otherworldly technology, the story can still be profound. Because every interstellar traveler gives us a rare glimpse into conditions beyond our solar system, snapshots of nurseries where other suns once raised their planets. But what about tomorrow? What if the next visitor refuses to fit any natural mold? Could it be the moment when imagination finally meets reality? What do you think?